The time has come. It's our first ever Godforge patch notes. Super excited to dive into it with you. Some really cool changes looking at it, and I think a lot of us will be very happy to see what they've done. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hello everyone, Ragewood here, back with another Godforge video, and yes, as we said in the intro, it is patch notes time. And they're doing it on a new system. The Discord thread bot thing was great, but you could only have a limit of 1,000 threads. 1,000 threads. That's a bit of a mouthful. And they reached that limit within 5 days with 5,000 beta testers. We're about to have like 35k of us jump in. So they have produced this, which is kind of cool. Now I'm just going to make myself smaller for this so we can dive into it together. So if you don't want to read everything, you can just click these and it will take you through the different things. So it starts off with saying, they couldn't be happier for all the feedback from everyone, and today is the first patch notes. Now this is something that we saw briefly Simon share in the Discord, but essentially we can crunch our heroes now. However, what is new is you're getting spirits and XP, which is kind of cool. So managing your hero roster can be a challenge. You often need space to earn powerful heroes in Alpha 2. Don't forget to watch my top 5 mistakes to avoid video tomorrow. You will find that extremely helpful. But yes, so they have allowed hero unbinding. So it doesn't quite show where the button is, but there is going to be a button. And yeah, as you click certain heroes, you will get spirits and XP. I imagine if you swallow someone that's leveled up, you'll get a lot more XP than someone who is rank 1. I think that just goes without saying. But yeah, this is a really good quality of life feature to have, especially as it doesn't seem like there's a limit on the amount of spirits you can have. So we know that the hero roster, I think, is 100, 150, something like that. But the spirits say there didn't seem to be a limit, or at least I never reached it. So yeah, this is a really cool quality of life thing. So yeah, common heroes will be 1-star spirits, 2-star spirits, etc. That's nice. But unbinding cannot be undone. So this is a permanent thing. If you do it and you're like, oh no, there's no going back. Sorry. Rebalancing. You want to ensure caverns remain a fun experience. In Alpha 2, enemy heroes have been given new powers and will have increased resistance and accuracy after floor 90. Okay, yeah, so, it seems that those, especially accuracy, is going to be more important than it was previously after floor 90 reading that. So, I mean, I had 220 accuracy on Scardy, and it didn't feel like it was ever really an issue not landing the debuffs. Or if I did, it wasn't because of a resistance proc, it was just because I missed the 25% chance. So it'd be interesting to see what level you need to be at. It appeared last time, I think it was around 160 you could get away with. So yeah, it'd be cool to see what happens after that. We've also heard your pain points with economy balance and have made steps to make farming critical resources armor easier. Doubled Ascension Alchemy Stones across all stages. That is really nice. However, it was still a massive pain in the butt to get hold of Eternal Alchemy Stones. So am I just going to still end up with 400 strength ones and like 25 purple ones now instead of 106? Who knows? But it is still a step in the right direction. I imagine changing things drastically is just too much for the alpha or not worth their time investment considering how little we're playing here. So this is probably the next best thing that they could have done, truth be told. Increased 2-star spirit drops at higher stages. That is great because what we found is if you were farming stage 130, 140, you have lots of rare heroes and things like that. But you had no 2-stars at that point, so you still couldn't level people up. So you had to go back down to get the 2-star spirits to then go back up. So I like this change. This is very nice. Stage 120 now grant any armor slot with higher quality. Stages 120 now grant any armor slot with higher quality at stages, perfect for auto farming. Now this is interesting. So one of my big gripes was that after floor 19, none of the bosses dropped gear. So if you wanted to farm, you had to farm the individual stages, and if you went out or got distracted, all of a sudden you've got a shit ton of helmets and nothing else. But now grant any armor slot. So that means, I guess, if you're farming 127, for example, it's not just dropping boots anymore, it's dropping everything. Now that I like, especially if they've done it so 127 is your specialist pieces, 126 is Jaguar, Eagle, and Falcon, 124 might be Spirit of the Bear and Raven and Kraken, though, you know, those ones where you get incremental, and then 123 could be Brawler, Defender, and Slayer. If they've done it like that, aces. Love that. That's perfect. And for those who reach the final stages, you may have found our fearsome fire streak Fafnir to be a little tame. 150 was quite easy. In Alpha Wave 2, we've increased their powers to provide better challenges at 150 and 151. This is good. Like, there's nothing wrong with this at all. 151 obviously is the never-ending fight, so likely they would have fixed all of the egregious bugs that allowed so many of us to score silly high numbers with unkillable teams. So, yeah, looking forward to that. I imagine, I mean, we don't know yet. I'll read here. I don't actually recall weapons being mentioned at the top here. No, so that Arme no new Hoko weapon was part of the problem, stopping it from ramping. So it's now either going to ramp with any ability, I reckon, or it's now immune to divinity. One or the other would be just the easiest fix to make Fafnir actually a scary fight, but we shall see. It doesn't look like it's mentioned at all in these notes. UI improvements, we've heard feedback, mobile touch points, so they've increased all UI interactions and buttons. So when they say increased, I assume they mean bigger, so like chunkier sliders and just bigger buttons that are easy to press on the mobile rather than what they were before. I can't think what else increased means. Probably the most requested feature was to see what realm your hero is in the roster. We've now added realm flags. That's amazing. Yes, the amount of times it was like use an Avalon hero. And for someone like me who's been following it for a long time, that wasn't really an issue. I knew everything, but for a lot of people, that wasn't the case. They purposely avoided videos and things to get an organic taste. So that is fabulous for many people. The cameras were too close and tricky to see the actions, so the team have been testing new ones. POV replaces the dynamic, and it's true. So this is obviously what default was. I don't ever recall it being DYN or dynamic. I think that was just the default one. Top is great if you want a larger view for a more static angle. Yeah, I think that needs change. I'm glad that it has changed rather, because the top view camera is what I used throughout the entire thing, or at least 90% of it. But in the boss fights, it wasn't a top-down view, it was more like a bottom-up. I get why they did it. They wanted that sort of imposing boss figure, Fafnir being 2-3 times the size of you and at least appearing that way. But it wasn't practical. If this is top-down is now actually top-down, that would be great. Action, I guess, replaces the 3/4. There's a balance between the two. Cool. Looking forward to everyone experiencing the new viewpoints. Nice. Oh, this is huge. We knew going into Alpha 1 that our buffs and debuffs were particularly challenging to read, and we've taken strides forward with Wave 2. The view can now be accessed via the info button. It actually works. That is wonderful. And our first iteration of this, we plan to move across to future updates. Love that. Love, 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 love that. Now, I imagine if you click on it, nothing happens. Like if you click on the defense up here or the vanish on Shinigami, I imagine nothing happens, but it is still a vast improvement. If it gives you the tooltip for the debuffs as well, brilliant. But as I say, just going to temper expectation, probably doesn't, and that's fine. Use community resources like Scrolls of Anubis or Raven to get the descriptions. It's so good to see, and to see like how many bleeds you've actually got now rather than it sort of being bugged or what have you. Love that. Last and certainly not least, related to combat freezes, disables and locks on the Golden Guardian and Fafnir. Yeah, so they were meant to be immune to disables and locks, but if an ability said place random like Pandora or Pangu, it could still do it. So that's been changed now. And here's the big one, hero updates. These changes include a number of updates, including multipliers, ability, and ability upgrades. In some cases, we've also updated hero abilities for a better balance. So we don't get to see descriptions, but Aphrodite's been highlighted. No, Beowulf. Okay, I imagine the stars are the big changes. Lots change. Yeah, these heroes in particular received more significant updates to better balance their ability set and fix game-breaking mechanics that led to a negative hero experience. Yeah, so, do you know what, let's start at the top. Beowulf, I'm really sad. Hopefully they've not just kicked him into the dirt, but also on 151 he just didn't do any damage, so that could mean that. Dracula did need to feel more impactful, his damage wasn't quite there, and his core was kind of, Legendary hero, Gilgamesh, probably nerf, Heimdall, probably nerf. Hell, hopefully they fixed her ult where she actually places Confuse, so she's not just reviving the enemy team. Hercules probably dies now. Horus, I imagine, won't just get caught in an infinite attack loop. Hound of Duat, I imagine the joint attack works, which will be grey. Icarus, Imhotep, don't remember anything wrong with those. Hopefully, again, they've not been hit too hard. Kunoichi had busted multiplier. She hit really hard. Be interesting to see what she does. Musashi, please say the infinite counterattack. If that goes, I'll be over the moon. Owen felt kind of alright. He didn't feel fantastic. So if he does a little bit more damage, that would be great. Pandora, Percival, as mentioned in a podcast, and this is one that I found where he didn't do any damage on his first hit, and they fixed that. He also just felt weak in general, so Shamash is another big one. So this is the guy that kept him protected. He would place the infinite barrier on you, so it'd be interesting to see what they've done there. Obviously, we know what it did previously from all the videos and things that we had, so yeah, this will be interesting to see. And Zeus, yeah, so Zeus was an interesting one. His ultimate was worded wrong for what the ability did. So either the ability was wrong or the skill description was wrong. The fact that this is receives quite significant change might lead you to believe that the actual skill, the way it was functioning, was wrong. And that's what I've seen in a lot of places, but again, remains to be seen. And then bug fixes. Cooldown bonuses from ability upgrades would not apply to heroes, where if you skill booked your hero, the cooldown actually wouldn't happen, which is why it felt longer for quite a few people. So there was like a lot of talk about the difference between Raid and Godforge. So if something was a 3-turn cooldown, it was actually 4 turns, and people were so used to Raid it being 3. This is likely the issue and has fixed that for many people. So that is really good to see. Imprint abilities would not show. Battle rewards. Lock debuffs could be placed. Yeah. Fafnir could lose turn meter and divinity meter permanently. Okay, so this way this is worded makes me feel like there is a limit to how much you can take down, which is good, especially for 151. So he might scale the same, but now he actually can cast his ultimate, both of them. That would be good. Chilling counteract caused battle to freeze. That's great. Debuffs that caused good. Yeah, okay, that's great. Infinite Musashi counterattacks have been fixed. Hallelujah. Isis and Horus permanently counterattack each other. That's fantastic. Hercules could never die. They fixed that. That's great. Acid debuff would reduce your stats instead of the enemy. Okay, Shinigami animations fixed. Tristane and other heroes would display pink. We'll miss you, Tristan. We'll miss you. Beowulf could deal tremendous unexpected damage to bosses. That one hurts. That's obviously what the big changes were. He was the boss killer. He was meant to do max HP damage. I hope they've not put him into the turf. That'll be one that we'll look to change, or we'll look to test at least. And there we are. That is the patch notes, guys. There we go. So some good changes there. But yeah, what do you think? Are these changes in line with what you thought? Do you want to look at them in more detail in game before you judge them? Let me know in the comments down below. Stay safe, look after yourselves, work hard, as always, play harder. I will see you in another one soon. Cheers.